Welcome back to another crypto cruise. So it's been an exciting week. So let's talk about what happened this week with Bitcoin and crypto overall. And I'm going to review this beauty, a 2025 Lexus LC500. This is one of my favorite cars of all time. And I'm going to review this car for you guys as well. All right, first things first, let's talk about what happened last week. October finally happened. We finally got a good week. We started moving upwards. We hit $69,000 once again. And at this time, as of this recording, we're right around 68.3-ish, around there. But overall, pretty darn good. So all of a sudden, we got a little bit of momentum and we started going up. And during the streams, I showed you guys how we started smashing through some of these shorts. We have a lot of these liquidation, these short walls, and we started smashing through one after another. So overall, it's been pretty darn good. I mean, this whole last week, not a whole lot of big news. Obviously, Michael Saylor was in the news once again. I mean, Microstrategy was just absolutely on fire. That's no surprise. Wall Street loves Microstrategy. I mean, once upon a time, you know, Saylor was seen as a lunatic, a maniac, one that gambled way too much on Bitcoin. Now he's seen as the new Warren Buffett, one that predicted that Bitcoin was going to be the savior of his company, was going to be a savior of the dollar, I guess. And now he's seen as the new Warren Buffett, and his stock is sky high. It's the highest performing stock in the S&P 500, even outperforming Nvidia, which is absolutely crazy if you think about it. And there's nothing really else to say about that, but the one thing that I've been pinpointing is the fact that MicroStrategy broke through their March high. It did it first, and I believe that's a precursor of what's to come for Bitcoin. We're really close. We're less than like 8% or 7% away from our previous high. That can happen anytime. It can happen today. It can happen tomorrow. We're really not that far off. We just need a little bit more push. I keep looking at the liquidation walls. This is what I refer to. The liquidation walls, they keep being moved upwards a little bit. And I think the shorters, they have no choice but to move upwards because the buy pressure keeps coming in and in and in. And, you know, it's just a matter of time. We smash through into the 70s and get back to 73, and then we're in the 80s. Really, if you look at the liquidation walls, there's not that much above. Now, I got to look at overall. I'm just looking at the liquidation walls. I got to look at the order books, too. I got to figure out what side to go to look at the overall order books and where the sell walls are. But, like, looking at the liquidations, you know, like on Friday, I was looking at, there were a lot right around like the 68.5 mark, and that's where we hit and came back down. And then later on in the day, I saw it got moved up to 69. That's why we hit 69 and came back down. But overall, yeah, I mean, the shorts are panicking. They keep moving it up. The buy pressure keeps on increasing. And you know what? Those institutions, man, BlackRock took in like $1 billion themselves in the last 3 days of this last week. The other ETFs are taking in more too. I mean, this is FOMO season. This is exactly what October is about. And we still have 2 solid weeks left. This is what I said at the beginning of the week. I mean, beginning of the month. The first 2 weeks of the month. October is not over until it's over. And so many people got so bearish, right? The first 2 weeks of October. People are like, you know, what happened? It turned into Dumptober, you know, blah, blah, like a lot of stuff, right? But you just have to look at history to know that, generally speaking, it doesn't always start out good, right? You just look at even last year, it started out bad, and then it turned out great. And you look at last month to September, everyone was so bearish about September. I'm like, I'm not so sure September has to be bad. Yes, historically September is bad, but we have a major event, that FOMC meeting. We never had, not never, but we didn't have a rate cut for 4 years, and we're about to get one. That could change things. Guess what? It did. We actually had the best September in all Bitcoin's history. Think about it, last month. It wasn't the greatest, it was just like a plus 7%, but that was the best September in Bitcoin's history. So you just never know. You just never know. We could play out and break history again in October. We could end up this last 2 weeks, I don't know, maybe well into the 80s, right? It's not over until it's over, but things are looking definitely very, very positive. We have billionaires around the world besides Michael Saylor turning extremely bullish about Bitcoin, right? There's always a thing, like if you're a contrarian, you might be thinking, well, if all these billionaires are turning that bullish, maybe they're planning on dumping and they're planning on doing something bad. That could be a case. I mean, that's valid. If they're that bullish, maybe they're up to something. But I truly believe they're just like playing catch up. Maybe some of it is, because there's some other master plan because they want to control Bitcoin or something like that. Like BlackRock, I have no doubt, there's some other agenda where they want to control a meaningful amount of supply so they can actually, control it in some way. But I think others are just warming up to it, and they're finally realizing what Bitcoin has the potential of doing. Things that Bitcoiners have been saying all along, it was just too early. Like things that Bitcoiners have been saying since 2017, right? About being a hedge against inflation and being a store of value that's even greater than gold. But back in 2017, it was just way too early. It's just a fairy tale back then, right? Even in 2021, 4 years later, we were talking about it, but it was just still too early. But now you fast forward another 4 years later, now it's about time. Now people are finally paying attention because maturity has set in. Now you have banks embracing, we have actual spot ETFs, and now countries around the world are no longer talking about banning Bitcoin. They're talking about how to utilize it and how to utilize blockchain for better. So we've gotten to a point where it has matured enough so that people are taking it seriously now. You really don't hear many people talk about Bitcoin being, a Ponzi now, a tulip bubble, besides just a few little naysayers, but everyone else has come to embrace it. So I'm super bullish. I know I've said these things many times, but this is just how I think, I guess the other thing that happened last week is Tesla moved $760 million worth of Bitcoin, right? People are wondering what's going to happen. Are they planning on selling before their quarterly? I certainly hope not. One thing that I'm still amazed by is, they're catching, SpaceX catching their rocket. Like, I can't even imagine the amount of like math and science and engineering and everything else in between required, first of all, to launch a rocket. That in itself is amazing, because you think about our space program with NASA and all the rockets we have launched before, how many of them have blown up, right? And cost lives, yes, but like we haven't had that many, and many of them have blown up. And SpaceX have launched so many now, it seems like they're pretty good. They're pretty reliable now. Not only that, now it has gotten to a point where landing them has been pretty darn successful. I know at the beginning, landing them has been kind of, sketchy, but he has perfected that now. And now SpaceX has perfected, I don't know about perfected, it could have been total luck, but on his first try, he was able to catch a rocket with perfection. Like, you could tell that was controlled perfection, because the rocket came down at a controlled rate and then it held itself at a position where the chopsticks was able to like catch it, right? If it wasn't like held in that position, suspended in that position, there's no way that the chopstick could have caught it. So my point is, what went into that, okay, everything that went into that is so monumental. I can't imagine anyone else out there, like the space program from China or India or anyone else, Russia, right? Like all those space programs, once they watched SpaceX do that, all of them probably like flipped out. Like I could just like picture in my head if they were like sitting in their, you know, their NASA like building, their NASA equivalent of their building, watching this live, they all would have like flipped out and like fell off their chairs, because they're probably like 50 years away from that. Like they are nowhere close to that. Even our own NASA engineers and program is probably like 50 years from that. Right? It's amazing what Elon and his team was able to accomplish. So with that said, what does that have to do? Like with that said, you know, Elon's not perfect, right? I'm not like trying to dick ride Elon. I know a lot of people do. I hate those kind of people, right? But like he is a genius in many ways, but he's not right in a lot of things too, right? And if he decides to sell off Bitcoin, you know what? Then you know, I'm not gonna support that move. I don't get it, right? Like he's a very smart guy. He have said many times he's the founder of PayPal. He understands money more than most, and he has said that he likes Bitcoin better than fiat. He hates fiat. He understands fiat. He understands that fiat inflates forever and it's not something to be held. He understands inflation, right? So it doesn't make sense to me that he would sell off Bitcoin. It also doesn't make sense to me that he's still involved with anything else other than SpaceX. Like, you know, he has come so far with SpaceX, and, you know, he should just stay with that, man. Like, you know, get us to Mars. You know, like, get us to Mars or the moon or something. You know, build out, make us a multi planet species like what he wants, right? Do something greater. There's no need for him to be running Tesla at this. He already disrupted the industry, the car industry, the EV industry. Tesla's already dominating the EV. No one else is close, right? Like he should just be like doing his thing. X also arguably, I know he's still trying to disrupt it and still trying to grow it. Okay. But still, you know, I think he has a greater purpose, greater mission than running Tesla at this point, right? Anyways, I'm rambling on, but as for Bitcoin, I really, really, really hope that he holds on to his Bitcoin. He has sold off many before. He had a lot more. He sold off 3/4 of it. And he did say publicly he himself holds Bitcoin, and SpaceX holds a large amount of Bitcoin. And he doesn't have to disclose that because SpaceX is a private company. But hopefully he does. Hopefully he moved it, and then he says he's going to embrace the Bitcoin strategy and he's going to start buying more Bitcoin. That would be smart on many fronts because, first of all, Tesla stock is going to start skyrocketing, okay, if he announces that, because just look at what's happening with MicroStrategy. So that would be extremely smart if he said that, actually. So if he wants to raise more money and get a more evaluation, and he wants to use Tesla as his cash cow for more money to like do his other endeavors, then he should definitely do that. Just say that he moved it for whatever accounting reasons, and now he's going to start buying Bitcoin with his excess cash or whatever. Man, that's going to send Tesla to the moon, right? Or to Mars. I'm hoping that he does something like that, because at this point in time, that's not a bad thing. Back in the day, when companies, public trade companies said, oh, we're going to start buying Bitcoin, that was still seen like, that was still shunned, right? Like a bad publicity thing. But now it's not. Like, look at MetaPlanet from Japan. Even though they're purchasing much smaller than MicroStrategy, their stock is like the highest performing in Japan. It's crazy. So if Tesla did that, if Elon did that, even if he didn't believe in Bitcoin, which I don't believe, I think he still believes in Bitcoin. Even if he didn't believe in Bitcoin and just embraced the Bitcoin strategy, it would send Tesla stock to Mars. So I'm hoping that happens. So those are two things. That's it. This week there's not much, just more normal economic stuff. I'll talk about more upcoming stuff in my Sunday walk video tomorrow. It's gorgeous out. I really wish I could take the top down right now, but then the microphone wouldn't pick up what I'm saying. Anyways, that's it. Let me talk more about this car, because this is one of my favorite cars of all time, especially this year. This is actually 2024, but it's 2025. I looked it up. It's the same. There's no changes. The biggest change with this one in 2024 is the infotainment screen has been changed to a touchscreen. Finally, this LC500 came out, debuted in 2018. Okay, in case you want to know a little history, as a normal coupe. It's a two-door coupe. This is like the premier car from Lexus. And it's gorgeous. It was inspired by the race car, like kind of like the exotic race car that Lexus had before, the LFA, which is very exclusive, very expensive, and those are going for like $1 million plus now. But when that came out, I think it debuted at like $500,000 or something, and had a V8, a V10, and looked very funky, and it sounded great. But this was inspired by that. But this is, an ultra luxury two-door coupe. But the only thing that held it back was the infotainment system. It used the clunky, like, center console thing. But now in 2024, they updated it. But they didn't have a convertible version back in the day. And I think in 2021, they introduced a convertible and totally changed the game. If you're thinking about getting LC500, you have to get the convertible, because this car really is different when you have the top down, really. Okay. So this car, the Lexus LC500, is powered by a 5-liter V8. Okay, so first of all, you're winning with that. It's a V8. It sounds awesome. Upon startup, you're hearing that V8 growl. When you floor it, you hear the V8 growl. It's just, that's what you want, right? When you're in a luxury car like this, you don't want to hear no V6 or a turbo i4. You just want to hear a V8. You want to hear something that makes you feel alive, right? You hear that? That sounds good. It feels good too, right? So it's not just all sound. It's a good amount of power, 471 horsepower, 400 pound-feet of torque, made it to a 10-speed automatic. It's good amount of power, good amount of torque. You don't need any more. It's not a rocket ship. 0 to 60 under 5 seconds, like 4.6 seconds. So it's not the fastest. So if you compare it to the Germans, like the M8 or something, they will be faster for sure. Okay, but it doesn't really matter. This is like a cruiser car, and so it checks the box with a beautiful V8, a beautiful sounding car, and then it checks the box with the looks. If you look at a LC500, this is among the best looking cars out there. Like, it just has an elegant shape from all sides, from the front, the side, the back. There is no wrong angle to this car. It looks gorgeous from all sides, with the top up and with the top down. With the top down, it looks even better. It's arguable that even like exotic cars look better than this, because I would rank this in the exotic territory in terms of looks. It looks that good, especially with the 21-inch wheels. They're massive. They fill up the wheel wells really nicely, but Lexus just did an incredible job with the overall exterior looks of this car. I just love it. So it checks the box off with the exterior looks as well. And then you move on to the inside, same thing. The interior is ultra luxurious, plush. This one is white and blue. You really can't complain. This is what a luxury car feels like. You can't really say that about a lot of other Lexus cars. I've reviewed all the new ones, all the old ones. A lot of them just don't feel luxurious. Unfortunately, that's why I say Lexus and Mercedes, you know, there's a big gap between luxury. But this one, Lexus really tried, and everything inside feels nice, stitched nice. Everything inside here feels so good. The seats feel so good and looks great. I mean, and the beautiful contrast and stitching. I love it. So this car really checks off every box in terms of engine, exterior look, interior comfort and luxuriousness, sound. You know, now that they fixed this touchscreen and it's convertible, I mean, man, it's just so good all around. So the downside to this car, of course, is the price. So if you're getting the convertible, it's over $100,000. It's like roughly $103,000 or something like that. If you're getting the coupe, it's a little bit less. It's like it starts in the low 90s. But I mean, if you can afford the LC500, you should really just get the convertible. It's made to be a convertible. I mean, it's just so nice. It's so quiet and luxurious and soft on the inside, even with the big wheels. It looks great. You're just going to have a really good time with this car. I really love it. I mean, next year, if I'm thinking about getting a convertible, this is my #1 option. I really, really love this car. And I know eventually Lexus is going to discontinue it because it's probably not a big seller for them. But this is the only car in Lexus lineup that I'm excited about. There's nothing else in their lineup that gets me excited. I think everything else is just blah and okay. But this is the one car that I think they did a spectacular job on. All right, guys, that is it. Bitcoin, crypto's doing well. A lot of the alts are coming up. I know some of you guys are still a little bit disappointed with the alt performance. Trust me, it will come back. Right now, Bitcoin is led by the institutions and big whales, and Bitcoin always leads the way. I've said that many times. Bitcoin always leads the way. That's why we should all cherish and root for Bitcoin. But when the money flows in, you know, always flows out, and that's when you see the alts really come to life, and you know, retail will come back in, and we're starting to see signs of that. We're starting to see memes come up, and some alts do well, but you know, true altcoin season won't really be here until next year, and I think until then we will see little pops here and there, mini altcoin seasons here and there, like we saw earlier this year. That will come, but right now we're being led by Bitcoin, and that's okay. A new high, I believe, is right around the corner. We'll see it soon. We'll see it soon. I do believe we will hit 80K before the end of this month. I guess we'll see this week. Stay tuned for my Sunday walk video tomorrow, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Take care. Bye-bye.